She can go camping with a nice looking fence.
Your destination is on the left.
Hello, Skip. So tonight I thought I'd try something a little bit different. Instead of just the freeze-dried meals, I'm going to do a recipe that I made at home from Rebecca Megan. Yeah, so I bought Rebecca's plan, which comes with all these recipes. The food tastes really good. And it's meant to be super healthy too. Of yogurt. Please help me, Lord, to trust in you. I worship you, I exalt you. I desire to be a child after your own heart. I will follow you, I will serve you. Something that I sense God has been speaking to me about recently is I've always been afraid of having an Ishmael, a metaphorical Ishmael. You know the story of Abraham, he's waiting for his promise, and it seems like he and Sarah can't have a kid, so they take matters into their own hands. So they have Ishmael, who wasn't the promise, and that caused a few problems. I guess for me, I want to fulfill God's promise for my life. I don't want to take matters into my own hands and mess it up. I've come to realize that something that is even worse than that is what Jesus talks about when he talks about the three people with the talents. How there was that one person who had one talent and sat on it and didn't do anything out of fear. And Jesus called that person wicked and lazy. Abraham, on the other hand, even though he took matters into his own hands, God never rebuked him for it. In fact, God blessed the mistake for Abraham's sake. It says here in verse 20 of Genesis 17, "And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him. I will make him fruitful, and I will multiply him exceedingly. He shall beget 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation." So, what's the lesson here? Sometimes, by wanting to do things perfectly and not have any mess, we don't do anything at all, and we sit and we wait, and things just take years and years, and we wonder why we're not walking in the promise of God. I did college in 1995, and during that time I'd start work at 2 o'clock in the morning, work in a bakery, and then go off to college at 8. And the thing that I learnt was, when you're selling bread, you didn't want to sell out. The ideal was that you had, I can't remember, you wanted either 2% or 10% left on the shelves at the end of the day, because if you sold out, you never knew how much you could have sold. But if you had a bit left on the shelf, you knew that you went as far as you could go that day. And I suppose with making mistakes, you know where the boundaries are. If you never make a mistake, you never know how far you can go in God. So I don't think mistakes are as bad as we think. Abraham was accredited as being full of faith, and yet there were quite a few mistakes in his life. I think what faith is, it's taking steps. Some steps we get it right, some steps we get it wrong. But the thing is, we need to take steps. Like I said before, God didn't rebuke him for making the mistake, but Jesus rebuked the guy who didn't take a risk, the guy that sat and buried his talent. There's that scripture that says, without faith, we cannot please God. We've got to use wisdom and all that sort of thing. But even if we misstep, I think that's still better than doing nothing at all. This has all got just a bit messed up from the floods a few years back. It's actually quite difficult to find places near Sydney that don't take hours to get to, just to go camping. This is the closest one I've found to home, and it was recommended to me. I like to go off the beaten track a bit, but it's just difficult to do without driving for hours, spending heaps of money on petrol. That's me done for this time, I think. Till next time.